As an academy owner, you work hard to build trust with your students, their parents, and your community. But trust isn't something you claim, it's something you prove and earn. That's where Academy Safe comes in. We help academies like yours stand out with verified safety standards. Background checks for all staff, U.S. Center for Safe Sports certification, concussion training, defibrillators on site, CPR, first aid and AED certification, security cameras, rank and lineage checks, and verification of business insurance. Join the trusted martial arts registry that's redefining safety throughout North America. Lead by example. Show parents you're accredited with Academy Safe.
Hello, and welcome to My Empty Hands, a podcast about the martial arts, typically focused on Kenpo, but we give love to all the martial arts around here. I am Reggie Darden and have another guest with me today, and that is the one and only Mr. Eric Acha. And yeah, we're going to get into his story and his journey, his origin story, and whatever other rat holes that we get onto, we'll do that as well. I usually start things off by just giving a little bit of my background. I currently train in multiple martial arts at this point. American Kenpo, Hapkido, Capoeira, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai. I also have some experience in Taekwondo and did a little bit of boxing while in the Army. So as I always say, I stay busy, but I can't say no to some training and some good times. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and turn it over to our guest here, and go ahead and tell me and the followers here, where did the martial arts find you? Where did it all start? And we'll just kind of go from there.
Absolutely. So first off, thank you, Reggie, for this opportunity. This is a fantastic platform. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for letting me share my story. Well, my martial arts journey really began as a young child. I grew up in the Philippines, and my family immigrated to this country in 1980. And while in the Philippines, I was always fascinated with martial arts. I'm like a little kid, right? I'm a young boy growing up in the Philippines, and according to my parents, the first movie they ever took me to was Enter the Dragon.
Oh,
Now, they
nice.
said I never made it through the whole movie. They said I cried and they had to pull me out halfway through. But that was kind of what I call the genesis of my martial arts, right? In the Philippines, I did some kung fu, some karate. Um, and then at 9 years old, we came here to America, specifically to the San Francisco Bay Area, where I spent the next 40 plus years of my life. Um, and there in the Bay Area, it was a man, it was the 80s was just, in my opinion, one of the most magical times in the martial arts. I was a fan of martial arts already at that age, to the point where every month I knew when the Black Belt magazine was coming out, so I would ride my bike to the 7-Eleven, and I would grab that copy of that Black Belt magazine, and I would flip through those pages, as a kid. And I remember one of my silly things is, if you remember those old school Black Belt magazines, one of the things they had in there was like a full page ad for Asian World of Martial Arts in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah, know
And
that very well.
yeah, I wanted to, every kid, me and all my friends, we all wanted to be ninjas. So you'd look through that and you'd see the ninja suits and the ninja claws and the throwing stars, which at the time weren't illegal in California. Now you,
Oh
you
yeah.
go to prison for one of those. But those are the things that fascinated us, me and my friends. So I had a core group of friends, and at 9 years old, we wanted to be ninjas. Now you got to imagine the time was so different that we would leave in the morning and not come home until the street lights came on, was our rule.
Yeah, I
And
remember those
so
days quite fondly.
they're the best. And me and my friends would just go out and play ninjas all day. We'd get branches and whip each other with them like there were swords. We would pick up, like crab apples and throw them at each other. We would make smoke bombs. I mean, it was just a fascinating, fun time for me. And even though it was play, it was it was kind of the root of my martial arts passion because martial arts played such a huge part in me that it became part of my play. And that's a really important topic, especially when you teach kids nowadays. I always revert back to that and to how to make it play. Anyway, we'll move on to that later. But the first martial art I did when I was here was actually judo at the YMCA. That was my first introduction to grappling, and we didn't do it for very long. You know, I was a kid. I would just move around and kind of one interest would catch on. I did judo for a little bit, and then I was flipping through and I found, I think the school might still be there in San Francisco. It was called the San Francisco Ninja Society, and it was a school for ninjas. It was literally like a ninjutsu school. And I remember Sensei Hoshino, and I remember, and it was in the Mission District. It was at near Geneva and Mission, which is kind of an iconic part of San Francisco. It's rooted in a lot of history there, but that was where the school was. And I remember traveling to that school with some of my childhood friends, and we took classes. We were literally taking ninja classes. Um, Fast forward a little bit from there, you know, we did ninjutsu, and then I discovered Kempo. I discovered Kempo in the mid '80s. Um, and my first exposure to Kempo was Fred Villari. If
Oh, okay.
you Fred Villari Studios of Self Defense. That was my first introduction to Kempo. From there, again, loving the martial arts and loving martial arts history. Of course, you take a deep dive and you start looking at Kempo roots. You start looking at the IKKA and Mr. Ed Parker. And at the time in the San Francisco Bay Area, it was Grandmaster Ralph Castro, the international. I think it was the ISKA or something, International Shaolin Kempo Association. That was his thing. So he was kind of the leading light of Kempo, and he and Mr. Parker shared the same teacher, Professor William Chow, back in Hawaii. And so I kind of got started there. One of Grandmaster Castro's uh, really fantastic students was Grandmaster Rick Alamany, and kind of he was a legendary fighter, legendary full contact point fighter. You know, going back to the 70s and 80s. And my Kempo instructor after I went to Fred Villari's was one of his top black belts, Mr. Carlos Valdez. And I learned a majority of my Kempo from him, and it was Shaolin Kempo, based on Grandmaster Ralph Castro's system. Um, that was a majority of my Kempo, and stand-up training was with Professor Valdez and Grandmaster Alamany. And man, what a legendary time, because in the 80s, the California Karate Championships was a huge thing in San Francisco. They would have these massive tournaments at the Civic Center, and I remember just watching just these fighters just go in there and just go at it. I will never forget, because there's a transition I think that happens, and I don't want to, I never ever want to badmouth or put down a certain system or a certain style. In my opinion, it all comes down to training, to the training method. I will never criticize a style. What I will critique is the training method and how they do things. The style, no, we're not going to do that. But the training method is always up for debate. And I'd been going to Fred Villari's, which is a kind of a commercial. It was a commercial gym. You know, it wasn't a one-off. It was just a commercial gym. They just want to get people in, and they're just trying to make money. And you know, memberships were everything. So it's a whole system. And I remember the first time I walked into Grandmaster Alamany's gym. They had a lineup, and everyone and the people were gonna. A majority of their black belts were gonna fight at the CKC, at the California Karate Championships, and they lined up and they faced each other. And that timer went off, and I had never seen grown men go at it like that. That was the first time. There was some tough guys in there, some legendary names in the sport. Brandon Beliso was there, I remember. Um, Timmy Alamany, just some really tough, and they just went at it. and mind you, I had never seen this before, and what my jaw dropped, and I said, okay, that's what I want to do. Granted, I wasn't
Gotcha.
very good at it, but it's what I wanted to
Gotcha.
do.
No,
And
I hear you. I hear you.
yeah,
Just to kind of go back a little bit, real
yes, sir.
quick. So with the Nijiu school, what kind of happened with that? Why did you change? And then with finding the Kenpo school, was there something in particular that brought you to that school, or just proximity, or what? How did that start?
Yeah, it was the ninjutsu school was in San Francisco, and at the time I lived in Pacifica, and it was about 20 minutes away, and I didn't have a car. And I was a kid. I was like 9, 10 years old. Maybe I was 10 or 11. And so I would have to rely on my parents or my aunt to take me. So that was just a challenge. And so that kind of fell by the wayside. And then when I discovered the Kempo school, I think I had already transitioned, or I was either an eighth grader or a freshman in high school. Um, and and it was near my school. It was in San Mateo, and we're getting further and further away from San Francisco and going south. And so that was a transition to that Kempo school. And I think I heard about it from one of my friends. And one of my friends in high school, they were doing Kuksowan,
Oh,
and
okay.
they were very much into Kuksowan. And and then they had done some Taekwondo. And I think we just, the martial artists all just kind of got together, and we said, hey, there's this new school opening up, and we checked it out, and I was there for a few years. And that was kind of the genesis of my Kempo journey. And I stuck with Kempo, and I got my fourth degree black belt in Kempo. Um, and that was all through high school and through 18 and 19, kind of moving into the mid 90s now. And in 1994, I became a police officer for the city of Brisbane, in California. It's just south of San Francisco. It's a small little town, but that's kind of where I got started. And so my martial arts journey took a little bit of a pause, only because I was concentrating on police work. I still had some good training in, but that's kind of where I kind of see it. I kind of have my beginning phase, my Kempo phase, and then when I became a police officer, and then that's where I really started to see the value of my martial arts. Um, Not so much in what they offered me physically, but what they offered me mentally, and the tool that it gave me to give back. Because one of the most important things that I was able to do as a police officer was to teach Kempo karate through the Police Activities League, which was really cool. We had a Kempo program. This was must have been from 90. This must have been from 96 to about 2000, 2001. Was when we taught at the when we taught a lot of the kids, and so many of those kids now still remember me, and they still reach out to me from time to time. Many of them have gone on to become to do some great things. Several of them were in the military. Several of them became attorneys, but these were little kids, in the mid '90s. Now they're grown adults. It's such a fascinating journey. It just the martial arts life is really really fabulous and fascinating.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 1 million% there. So before we get to kind of the meat of I guess what you're known for. So you are, in case people did not know, you're a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu person. And before we get into that part of the journey, I'm curious about. The law enforcement aspect of it. So I've described on many occasions that I watch an obscene amount of body cam videos as of
Yes.
lately, and one of the things that stands out is just how important training is. Seeing so many situations where a police officer is not able to detain a suspect, and many instances where there's 4 or 5 plus cops that can't even take down, a person that is 100 pounds soaking wet, and so just seeing the really importance of that. I've been curious about those that have had to use their skills within that a real world scenario. So, a lot of times we as martial artists, we get to this situation where we think that we kind of build up for this imaginary fight, and we're gonna fight off 50 ninjas and all this sort of thing, and not to say that most martial artists have kind of an unrealistic expectation, but I just kind of like to get out there. Maybe what are like some of the misconceptions about real world scenarios and all of these sorts of things. So, just kind of in your experience, in your viewpoint, maybe what are some things that martial artists maybe need to think about in a real world scenario that maybe we've kind of gotten the wrong idea from movies and that sort of thing.
For sure. I was a police officer for 22 years. And at the very end of my career, I worked for the district attorney's office as a supervisor. And part of my job was to utilize use of force incidents involving other police officers. It was basically our unit that would make a decision on whether or not a police officer acted within the law or outside of the law, when it comes to situations like if they shoot someone or any kind of major use of force by another officer would typically fall on the lap of our unit, because um, it's we need to make a determination whether or not they're going to be charged. Was the bottom line, was the unit that I had the privilege to work for. Um, and so when you look back, I mentioned that at the end of my career because at the very end of my career, I had a much, much better understanding of understanding how the system works allows you to work the system better. The downfall for most brand new police officers, they don't have that context yet. They really don't understand what they can do, what they can't do. And that all comes down to training. And when I say that comes down to training, it goes all the way back to the police academy, to their very, very first time in the academy. Um, and it's like anything else, right? I mean, you're in the military, they teach you stuff in boot camp, and then how it works in boot camp isn't how it works in real life when you leave boot camp. It's the same thing. Those experiences matter. One of the first things that was super important for me as a police officer, was that I needed to have a decision-making matrix that was fast and accurate. Meaning, if I'm going to act, I need to decide to act now. And as a police officer, the rules are very different, only because I need to act within certain parameters of the law, and I need to have a very, very clear understanding of that. And I think what gets most people who are not in that arena where they have to think about these things is that they fail to act. They really fail to act. Every time you can watch any fight, man, you see the guy get up close and now they're nose to nose and they're kind of talking to each other. Why are you letting them get that close? Why aren't you managing that distance? Because, the bravado comes out. It's like, yeah, I'll take you on. And then they get no, they don't do anything to mitigate that distance. As a police officer, as you're coming up to me, in my mind, I'm already looking for the signs of aggression. I'm looking at your bald fist. I'm looking at your overall demeanor. I'm looking at everything, and all of these things, these factors that I see, all add up for my decision to move first, because I can reasonably articulate the danger was coming to me. Now, as a police officer, at the end of my career, I understood that very clearly. I can articulate. So let's say as a civilian, a guy comes up to me and I pop him in the face, and all of a sudden the cops show up, and then the cops are going to interview you, right? Why did you hit him in the face? I don't know. I was scared, so I hit him. That is not enough. That's not enough. that's a recipe for jail or a recipe to get in trouble, to get sued civilly, or all kinds of things. But as a police officer, and especially towards the end of my career, I absolutely realize and I can articulate to you the signs that I see person coming towards me. I see the aggression, and I will tell you that, hey, officer, I was minding my own business. This guy started to walk up to me. I saw him. He was yelling at me. He said this, this, and this. He had his fist balled up. He was gritting his teeth. He was saying he was going to do this, and he kept stepping towards me. I told him to back off. He did not back off. So I hit him. That ability to articulate those facts is often missing from a lot of self-defense training that we're doing nowadays, where all you want to do is just do the move, but it's actually before the move and how you make a decision to act that is so important and is often missed. This is why I tried to introduce Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the police academy into basic police training over 20 years ago, and I got in trouble. They wanted nothing to do with it. People were getting injured, and that's a whole nother separate issue. Excuse me. And I got in trouble because the state at the time didn't recommend it. And to be honest with you, that's kind of the point where I stopped trying to teach jiu-jitsu to cops, because I knew that I would never be able to teach cops effectively unless the department got behind it. The trend now is in the opposite direction. Every department wants jiu-jitsu because they finally realize, and I'm this guy 20 years ago screaming it from the top of the mountain, you know, you guys need this. And I was the one getting in trouble. And so it's like, man, screw you guys. You're on your own. So I'm not bitter, but I've seen it before. And it all really just comes down to training. But man, that articulation portion is so important. And this is why people who do jiu-jitsu who have never been cops or have never ever taken the time to analyze really should be careful about thinking that they can teach cops just because they're black belt. But man, if you've never taken someone into custody, had to write a report about that custody, been criticized by a third party because of your actions, and looked at facing possibly criminal charges because of what you did, I would be very careful. You cannot teach, this is my hot take, you cannot teach defensive tactics to cops from a manual. Can't do it. You cannot do it. You have to have real life experience, because what they're doing has severe consequences, not just in their survival, but in their career survival, and then in their ability to take care of their families afterwards, because they will fire you quick, especially nowadays, and especially with body cam. So, that's one of my things. And believe me, I was a police officer who was inadequately trained for most of my career, especially in the beginning. All my Kenpo training, my martial arts training did not prepare me for some of the things, and just plain awareness. We talk about that distance thing. I remember one thing so vividly in my mind. We get a call for a loud party. We go to several of these, especially on the weekends. So I go to this call. I go by myself. I don't want to cover unit. I can hear the party going on inside. I don't know where my head was. Yeah, probably up my rear end. I go walk up to this door and I bang on the door, and then I kind of look down. They're not answering. I bang on the door louder. Police, open the door. Look my head down. As soon as my eyes went down, the door flung open. Someone ran up there, chest bumped me right to my face, knocked me back 2 feet. He said something to me, and he literally walked around me and just kept walking down the street. I didn't react because I was unprepared and I was ready. I was like, what the hell just happened to me? And the guy just walked off, some drunk guy. I didn't know. I was so shocked and taken aback because of how unprepared I was, and how my OODA complex, OODA, if you've ever heard that term, that my OODA complex just didn't process what was happening to me, and the guy walked away. Just goes to show you how incredibly unprepared you were. If that guy decided to punch me in the face, stab me, shoot me, hit me with a bat, I would have been flat-footed, Reggie. That was just one of many times where mentally I just was not in the space to defend myself. And mind you, I'm in uniform. I've been doing it a couple years already. I was no beginner, no rookie. I think I might have already been a training officer at that time, and I was caught flat-footed. That all comes back to training. And when I look back on situations where I was unprepared, it's always because I was not trained properly. And that is the crux of survival of police now is training. And man, with the million scenarios that can go through, that one specifically, and then another one really comes to mind when I talk about the OODA complex. And the OODA complex is OODA. It's observe, orient, decide, and act. How quickly can you work that? How quickly can you work that system? How quickly can you observe? How quickly can you orient? How quickly can you decide? And how quickly can you act? The slower that loop is, man, you're gonna be in big trouble. But whew, yeah, I should have died several times as a cop, but I didn't. Thank goodness.
Yeah, no, that's huge, and from the martial arts standpoint of it, you train like you fight like you train, and
Absolutely.
especially in I love Kenpo, and
Oh, I love
no
Kenpo.
no shade to the Kenpoists, but I think we get lumped into this a lot in that well, we're just doing our slapping arts, we're doing our techniques, we're doing our five swords, our thundering hammers, that sort of
Mhm.
thing, and we don't have that realistic. Uh, don't apply it realistically, or
Yeah.
we don't take into the account, we say in our school a lot of times you gotta move the meat bag, and yeah, we can do our techniques on each other or in the air, and we can slap ourselves and that kind of stuff, but if we're not actually putting our hands on the person and learning
Absolutely.
how the body reacts and learning how to manipulate the skeleton, that sort of things, we're kind of doing ourselves a disservice if we want to be able to use these techniques in a real world situation. And a lot of times it comes for sparring night, and all of a sudden everybody has everything to do. Oh well, I didn't wash my gi, so I can't come to class, or I got a roast in the oven or something like that, and and they don't spend the time to actually really work themselves under the stress of that. I think that's another thing that many of us neglect. So I guess I'm going to kind of put I still don't have it yet. I'm still working on it, but I have my little rant gi. So when I go on a rant, I can put on my rant gi and talk about stuff. But yeah, we don't. It doesn't need to be the kind of blood and guts days of us beating each other up, but we do have to get a little bit more uh, in touch with the other person, and in touch with our more animalistic selves, and when we're under stress, then we're going to fall back to our lowest kind of level of training. And if we're not
Absolutely.
working on hitting each other and these sorts of things. So kind of one of the stories that I kind of tell a lot is, so I taught capoeira for a lot of years, and um, I started training in Kenpo first, and so when I would teach things, I would kind of infuse a lot of the Kenpo stuff that I did into
Mhm.
my capoeira training. And one of the things that uh, I always felt like capoeira doesn't have enough of is that contact sparring and that sort of thing. And so every now and then I would say, okay, well, we're going to do an exercise where you actually you kick each other, and not like blasting each other through the wall, but just have one person stand, have their hands fold, their arms folded, and okay, well, we're just gonna just give a little kind of roundhouse kick to their side, to their arm, to their shoulders, just So one, you kind of know what it feels like to be kicked, and one, you know what it feels like to kick something, and just kind of how the body reacts and how you're going to react. And I would get all of these looks, just these eyeballs would just wide up, like, oh my god, we're going to kick each other. And it's like not hard, but with some intention uh, yeah, it just always kind of cracked me up that it's like at the end of the day, we're still doing combat arts,
Yes.
and the notion of oh, we need to hit each other in a combat art being this this thing like why are we doing that? It's just always been kind of funny to me, but yeah, that's my little side rant. So let's get over to the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. When did you get into that? How did your Jiu Jitsu journey start? And we'll go from there.
Sure. Must have been either 99 or 2000. And of course, being a martial arts fan, the UFC was just coming out, and you start reading about this guy, this family. You might have heard of them, called the Gracies, uh, the Gracie family, and Hoist Gracie. And you start looking, and you start hearing about these names, and you start seeing, and you see Hoist, and man, I gotta try this. I gotta try this. And so the first place I went to, I forgot what year it was, but I went to Half Gracie Mountain View in the early 2000s, maybe. That was my first jujitsu school I went into. Now, Half Gracie Mountain View at the time, if you're a jujitsu fan, you'll know some of these names, but BJ Penn had just come out of that school. Dave and Dan Camarillo, Kurt Osiander, man, Gumby, Alan Marquez, Cameron Earl, who was probably one of the best American jiu-jitsu fighters that we have ever seen. And unfortunately, he ended up in prison, and he will probably stay there because of some crimes that he committed. But that guy was phenomenal. But all these guys came from that school. I walked into that school never having done grappling, never ever had the contact, never had the kind of training environment that I'm used to now in jiu-jitsu, where you just roll for an hour and just forget about it and just go. I remember walking into that school and then going to the bathroom, and there was a sign over the sink. It says, "If you're gonna throw up, please throw up in the toilet bowl. Do not throw up in the sink." And I was like, "What the hell am I getting myself into?" So I go out to the mat, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I just get murdered, and to the point where, and I want to touch on this too, to the point where I'm a cop. I'm a fourth-degree black belt in Kenpo. I thought I was a big bad dude with my head probably not even fitting this screen like this. And I walked off of that mat after getting my tail handed to me and basically saying, "You know what? Screw these guys. I'll just shoot them. I'll just shoot them. They couldn't do anything. I'll just shoot them." That literally is how I explained to myself, how I reconciled within me how I've been a martial artist for all my life up to this point, and all of a sudden I'm thrown into a situation where I felt like a child. I felt I had nothing. I had no technique. I had nothing. And so, of course, my ego wouldn't let me go back. I'm like, ah, man, no, 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 that can't happen. I can't do it. So what do? I disappear for 2, 3 months, right? Typical. And then I get over myself. I said, man, I got to go back. I got to figure this out. Then I go back. Same thing happened again. And I did this for about 2 years, Reggie. I just couldn't figure out exactly what was wrong. I could not reconcile how this could happen to me. This big bad martial artist, big old gun on his hip, taking people to jail every day, chasing people. I get on the mat and I'm like a baby. And it all came down to 3 words, EGO. It was my ego that would not allow me to do so. And I was the kind of kid who was just good enough to get by on most things without really trying. And jujitsu was the first art were the first thing that forced me to really do a deep dive and to really put everything aside and buckle down and really learn the art. And after about 2 years of bouncing around, I mean, I went to different schools because I wanted to find different teachers because I didn't feel like I was getting taught. And I went to 2 to 3 different schools, and finally I found a school where I felt that the environment was good for me and that the environment was going to allow me to kind of grow in my own way. But more importantly, I made a decision that I needed to learn this mysterious art that was eluding me. And when I made that decision, that's the decision where you make where you're just like, oh well, I'm just gonna be sore every day.
Oh
Everything's gonna
yeah,
hurt every day. Every day
been
I'm
through
just
that
gonna
many
be in pain.
times.
Yeah. And it took a while. And I tell people that story, especially now with my students. It's like, you guys don't understand. If you think you suck, you should have seen me. I was the absolute worst white belt in the world. Not just technically, but my attitude and my ego, I was a horrible student. And so I take my experiences and I try to my best to transfer that to them to encourage my students. It's like, guys, I didn't understand anything for 2 years. I couldn't even get in on the, you guys getting on the mat twice a week is a huge win. You've done more than I ever did. You get your blue, man, that's fantastic. I always harken back to that me on my first day on the mat where I struggled, and I struggled for years. I tell people, man, I didn't submit or tap anyone for maybe 4 years. It's like I suck so bad. Well, I should say, but I when I resigned myself to the fact that I am not this submission hunter early on because I was just getting beat down. I was on the bottom. And when I finally said, you know what? If I'm going to be on the bottom, I'm going to be really good on the bottom. No one's going to be able to tap me. So the very first part of my journey, not by choice, but by circumstance, was my defense. I needed to be good at defense. I accepted the fact that if I'm going to be on the bottom, good luck. Good luck trying to tap me. And that's kind of where my mindset went. And so that has kind of become a staple in in a curriculum at my school. And what we emphasize is we emphasize the defense, especially for the newer people. And that's kind of how it started. So I started with a really good jiu-jitsu school named Marco Nascimento, uh, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu at the time they were in Foster City, California. And Professor Marco is now a coral belt. But when I started with him, he was a second degree black belt from Brazil. And I made a lot of great friends on that mat. And I learned the language of jiu-jitsu on his mat. I was with him for 7 years, 7 or 8 years, and I got my purple belt with him. And around 2010, I was teaching at the police academy, and I had a lot of students from the police academy say, "Hey, we really enjoy the way you teach. We want you. If we got a group of us together, can we work with you on the weekends? Maybe work on scenario training, work on some self-defense, some jujitsu, just basically to show us how to make it through this academy and teach us how to be cops." And that's kind of how the genesis for my school started, was with that small group. This was in 2010. Then I started with a small group, and then my small group turned into 10, 15, and then 20, and then I had about 20 students. And I said, man, I think I have something here. And that's when I decided to go commercial, and I rented the first space I rented was at the Police Activities League gym in Redwood City. And that's kind of how it started. And I started my school there, and then we got our first commercial space, and then we got our second commercial space. And it was, I think, now it's around. I got my blue belt in 2007, and then I got my purple belt in 2009. So right around in the mid 2000s is around that time is when I made the transition from doing jujitsu to actually teaching. I learned that I was a better teacher than I was a practitioner. And so I tell people, I started my school as a mediocre purple belt, mediocre, very mediocre. I look at my purple belts now, and they would have smoked me back then. And so I use that encouragement that when I started my school as a mediocre purple belt with just a little bit of backing, I was able to grow that school to 300 students into one of the largest schools and jiu-jitsu schools in the Bay Area. And that's my encouragement to people. It's like, look, don't tell me I'm just a blue belt. Don't tell me I'm just this. Don't tell me I'm starting out with this. If you have a heart of a teacher and you want to do something well and serve your students, you can do it at any level. The belt around your waist matters very little. It really does. It matters very little. People will see the truth out. People will see the truth. People who really take a deep look at you as an instructor and as a leader will see the truth. You can't fake that. A lot of people do a really good job doing it, but I'm telling you, the truth will always come out. The jiu-jitsu mat never lies, and time will reveal everything. And so, as a purple belt, I started this school, and we jumped from like a 1,600 square foot facility. And I'm one of these guys that believes in really going for it. If you have a goal, you go. If it's big, go bigger. We jumped into a 5,400 square foot facility, and I had maybe 30 students. 5,400 square feet is a huge space. We put mats down, and then the unthinkable happens. I decide that I need to leave my current instructor, that we no longer agreed on our vision, and I needed to leave for my students. In order for my students to grow, it was challenging. This is when I sent out five emails asking for affiliation. I needed to affiliate with someone. I was just a purple belt. And so out of 5 emails, only one person responded promptly. It was Professor Jay Zabalos from the Jean-Jacques Machado Association. That started my journey with Master Jean-Jacques. And that was one of my life-changing moments, is meeting him, the association. And I've been with them for the last 14 years. And I could not have asked for a better circumstance and that opportunity. And I've just taken the opportunity. I've just run with it. And man, now there's no looking back now. It's like, no, we're going to go all in. And that's exactly what's happened. And, that's my California journey, was taking a group of 6 people as a purple belt and growing a school and making it one of the largest schools in the San Francisco Bay Area at the time. And that's kind of my crowning jewel so far.
Gotcha. Very nice. Very nice. I like that. So we are kind of flying through our time here, and
Yeah.
as I say with so many of our guests, we don't as much as I would love to have a 22-hour show, we can't do that. But there's so many different things that I want to get to. But before we head to what I call our lightning round, there's one other thing that I wanted to ask you before we get
Yes,
to
sir.
that. So since there isn't a standard for what it means to be a black belt, I've been asking my guests just to kind of get their perspective on what it means to be a black belt, what it takes to earn a black belt, just kind of the general thoughts. I mean, of course, there's no right or wrong answer. It's very personal to everybody, but to kind of maybe try and get to a point where we can kind of triangulate on a common idea here, just to kind of in what your viewpoint, what are your thoughts around being a black belt, earning a black belt, maintaining a black belt, all of these different things. What's your kind of take on that?
Well, to me, a black belt is somebody that had a million reasons to quit and just never did. It's really simple. Every black belt that I put on, I would on my students, there's a story to tell. And that story includes, I could have quit here, I was injured here, I moved here, I left this, I left that, but I never quit. That's really what a black belt is. And then the second part of being a black belt and maintaining that black belt is taking those stories and taking your journey and having the bravery and the kindness and the thoughtfulness to share your journey with others. That's the other part of being a black belt. The black belt is not something around your waist. The black belt is something who you are, something that defines you. and something where I can tell by meeting you that you're a black belt, not just in the gym, but outside the gym. Um, I had a black belt come over to me from another school, and very good black belt. And we were having a conversation, and he said, Professor, I've had many conversations with at my other school with many other people. And we always just talk about jujitsu, what's going on here. He goes, well, when I talk to you, you're forcing me to take my jujitsu outside of the school. We were talking about business. We were talking about how to make his dreams come true. We were talking about how um, little things about how we can take what we learn on the mat and move it outside. And that's the real black belt. That's the real black belt is somebody that can take what they learn on the mat and apply it outside their life in ways that enrich other people. Jiu-jitsu is not about you. If jiu-jitsu is about you, if you're busy trying to sell, if you're busy trying to create something that is you, that's not jiu-jitsu. If you're busy trying to create something that enriches other people's lives and highlights them, that's jujitsu. That's the real jujitsu to me, is making other people's lives better and setting an example, on and off the mat. Um, man, I know, black belts that I know for a fact are dealing drugs, and they're out there and they're teaching kids. They're using drugs. They're out there teaching kids. And what kind of example is that? I know coaches. I know female coaches. Oh man, I know one female coach right now teaching kids, and I know for a fact that her conduct on the mat is not becoming of a coach. Not becoming a coach. And her conduct on the mat is darn near criminal. But they're out there. So the character matters. And it doesn't matter a little bit, it matters a lot. You'll see nowadays, Reggie, you see this if you're on the martial arts forum, people asking, oh, does lineage matter? Does lineage matter? It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. No, lineage matters. To martial artists, they matter. They matter to me. It matters. And so when you're talking about that lineage, man, and you look at the black belt, if you're gonna put your hooks into a black belt, let's say you're gonna decide that you want to get your black belt, be careful about who you decide to get your black belt from. Be very careful. You're gonna be tied at the hip forever. And red flags matter. You have to take that into account. Really, really do. So black belt is just more than something you wear around your waist. It's something that you are, and it's something that you willingly hand over to other people and use it to empower them, make their dreams come true. And in the process, you're going to find your way too.
Exactly. Yeah. Well said. I bring this up with some of my other guests, but I had heard something at one point where it was someone had said something along the lines of "Don't be afraid to quit," and now it doesn't mean that, oh well, this thing is hard, so I'm going to stop, but it means that we don't have to have this loyalty to a particular school or a particular teacher, and if there's things that is not a right fit, or there are things that are going on that just don't sit well with you, don't feel like you have to stay at that school, stay with that teacher, just because of who they are, or whatever things they may have accomplished, and to say that, yeah, maybe this isn't the right place for me to go out and do something, do something else, and yeah, just getting especially, well, I guess all the martial arts have it, but it definitely comes up a lot in Kenpo, and about the lineage thing, and who you trained under, and it's like, I went to a seminar, so I've trained under, I went to Ed Parker seminar, so now I'm an Ed Parker black belt, and that sort of thing, and yeah, it gets pretty silly with all of that.
It does, and your relationship with your teacher matters. It matters. It matters. It just does. When you have someone jumping around and moving around and switching associations and getting kicked out and doing this and doing, it's like those are red flags. that is indicative of that person's ability to maintain a long-term relationship with another person. It is just a red flag. And being afraid not to quit is absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct, because the student-teacher relationship must go both ways, and it must be earned both ways. But more importantly, it is the teacher's burden, not the students. You have to maintain that relationship, and the burden is more on you as a teacher to provide for your student, because the burden is heavier on you. We have a rule of the school: the darker the belt, the heavier the load. You have
Exactly.
to carry that load. You have to carry that load. That's what it means to be a black belt. And you earn it every day. You earn it every day. It's not something you say, oh, I'm a black belt for this, I'm a black belt forever. No, you're not. No, you're not. That's something you have to earn every day through your actions. And it's something that consistency will show. It's just something that will show. But you are dead on. But it goes both ways.
Exactly. Exactly. Well said. Well said. I like it. All right. So we're going to go ahead and move into our lightning round here. So I got a few little questions for you as we head towards wrapping up. So the first question being, do you have a favorite technique?
Ooh, favorite technique. I'm going to quote my teacher here, Master John Jacques Machado says, my favorite technique is the one that they give me, which is which actually goes really deep into what jujitsu is, because if you seek your technique, you're going to fight for your technique. If you take what they give you, now you're doing jujitsu. Now you ain't working, they're working. My idea is always that. It's like, I am going to find a way to make you give me what I want. If I can do that, then I know I'm doing jujitsu. If I can do that to a black belt, to force them into a situation where they give me my submission, chef's kiss. That's the art of what we do.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. I like it. Even though it's been quite a bit of time since I've been kind of drenched in the Kenpo world, we'll go ahead and throw in this next question anyway.
Hit me.
See
Let's
if
go.
you remember. But do you have a favorite form or set?
Whew. Yeah. We in the IS in our Shaolin Kempo, we just called it our forms, or set one. We just numbered it 1 through 15.
Mhm.
Man, but I will never forget. I forgot the name, but the move stays with me. Stick with me here, Reggie. You'll know this.
Mm. I mean,
Two-hand
kind
block,
of.
chop to the neck, to the body, to the face. I forgot what it's
Yeah,
called. Was that five
five
hammers?
swords.
Five
It looks like
swords.
it looks like
Five swords.
five
There
swords.
you
Yeah.
go.
Yep. That's
That's
one
the
of
one that
the.
sticks with me. It's been a while.
Gotcha.
Don't ask me to
Gotcha.
kick. I can do a butterfly sweep, but don't ask me to kick. I can't do it. But my hands will still move.
Gotcha.
Five swords
Gotcha.
sticks with me.
Yep. No, that's one of the
It's a
as I like
staple,
to call
right?
it, the Kempo All Stars. Yeah.
There
The
you go. There you go.
techniques that
See?
just
Sticks.
are kind of everywhere. Yeah. I like it. I like it. All right. Next question. Do you have a favorite weapon?
Yeah, my Glock 45.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, and it's a great force multiplier, and
Exactly.
never leave home without it. I've carried a firearm professionally and not professionally, probably now going on 30 years. So, I never leave home without it.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. I like it. All right. Next question. If there's anyone that you could train with, living or dead, fictional or non-fictional, I guess I probably need to start modifying this for other arts. But I usually frame this with you can train with anybody except for Ed Parker. But I think I need to add in one for jiu-jitsu practitioners. But we'll let you go for this one. But
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
anyone you could train with, living or dead, fictional or non-fictional, besides Ed Parker, who would that be?
Let me tell you, the unique thing about jujitsu is you feel the other person. It is. I tell people that jujitsu is an intimate connection between two people at its deepest levels. It's an exchange of energy. And I, when you train with my teacher, with Master John Jacques Machado, you feel stupid. You can't do anything. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you think you can do. You just can't do anything. And that level is just like so many levels above me. It just blows me away, right? And he says the same about his teacher, Master Hickson Gracie. And I would probably love to train with Master Hickson just so I can feel his technique and just being able to feel, because YouTube and the videos, you see the big movements, you don't feel the small movements, and you don't see small movements, you feel them. And the beauty of jujitsu is that it allows you to take in that energy and learn from it. It's almost like a USB cable that plugs in and downloads all the information. That is the inherent advantage of jujitsu training. We talked about training earlier and training method. Kenpo and stand up is explosions. It's information, information, no information, information, no information. Jiu-jitsu, information, all the way through. And it's such a advantageous learning method, especially if you're cerebral, because you can literally download that information and in real time make adjustments. And that's what you're doing. I'm taking the information you're giving me, I'm analyzing it, then I'm moving it. So that OODA complex we talked about earlier, OODA, it's the same thing. This is why jujitsu practice is so important for police officers, because it develops your OODA complex in real time, in a safe manner that's going to allow you, because it's a brain thing. You don't talk when you're doing jujitsu. There's no ki in jujitsu. There's no explosion. It's just taking in energy and analyzing the energy and responding in an appropriate manner back. Whether you respond efficiently or inefficiently is going to come to your training. Whether your timing is good or it's bad, it's going to come down to your training. Everything just comes down to that. So Master Hickson Gracie would be the guy I would love to train with, just to move around with. I did meet him once. He did demonstrate a technique on. He used me as a uke to demonstrate a technique at a seminar once, which was super cool when I was a brown belt. That's my fangirl moment. And then, but yes, Master Hickson Gracie.
Very nice. Very nice. I like it. I like it. All right. Our final question here is, what is something that always motivates you to train, and or something that you want to put out for others to motivate them to train? So I use the example of the movie Rocky IV, the training montage. He's running in the snow, he's lifting the boulders, he's doing all of that stuff. I see that scene and hearing the glorious 80s music, and I'm ready to get out and hit the mats and get to work. So what is something like that for you, and or something that you want to put out for others to motivate them to train?
What motivates me to get on the mat is the opportunity to make one of my students a little bit better. That's for me. I get a chance every day I get on the mat to help one of my students, just one. If I can help one add a little something to his game, put a little thought in his mind, maybe they're having a bad day, I can make them happy, give them a stripe, make them smile, give them a new belt. Just the opportunity to make one of my students happy every day is what motivates me to get on the mat. It's challenging sometimes, but I look at my teacher who's been on the mat for over 50 something years. And if you've ever spent any appreciable time with Master John Jock, this is what he told me. He goes, Eric, every day I come in here. And he goes, I'll be honest with you, some days I don't want to be here. I'd rather be somewhere else. But I come in here and I look on the mat and I survey the mat and I look at my least experienced white belt and I look at the enthusiasm in their eyes for being here. And my job is to match that energy. I want to match that. And he says that is what you do. And if you do that every day, I've been doing it every day for 16 years now, or at least I try to put it into practice every day. Over time, you will have a very, very successful gym. You'll have a very successful culture, and one that's really built solidly, because if it's coming from you, from your heart to your student, there's no beating it. So yeah, I get on the mat every day just to make one of my students better.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you, Reg.
All right. So we are at our very final piece of business today, and that is the shameless self-promotion. So you can go ahead and plug anything that you want, or if there's anything that we haven't covered that you wanted to say, you now have the floor, and then we will close out from there.
Thank you. Guys, so I have 3 schools in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We have one in Colleyville, we have one in Hearst, and we have one in Bedford. Please, if you're looking for, I will never say that our jujitsu is the best. I will tell you that our jujitsu is different. John Jack Machado Jiu-Jitsu is different. And the jiu-jitsu I teach is the jiu-jitsu that was taught to me by my teacher. And we are different. Many places teach jiu-jitsu. Very few places understand jiu-jitsu. We understand jiu-jitsu. If you're looking for a good, healthy culture and just a good group of people to be around, give us a shot. Come on down. Come train with us. We have from 3 to 60. And we have IBJJF champions. We have all kinds of things. We have special needs kids. We run the entire spectrum. And the most beautiful thing about our school is that you can be you. You can be you and just enjoy yourself. And you enjoy jiu-jitsu the way it's supposed to be enjoyed. Enjoy jiu-jitsu the way I was taught. And I want you guys just to have fun. Have fun, keep it light. And my last shameless plug for the day is I've been drinking my coffee here. Football season's about to start, guys. Go 49ers.
Very nice, very nice, very nice, very nice. All right. Well, yes, I thank you so much for taking the time to be on and sharing your story. As I said before, we don't have enough time to get into everything. So you have an open invitation to be on at any point in the future, and we can get into some more specific topics. But yeah, once again, I thank you so much for being on and sharing your story. And yeah, I look forward to sharing this with the followers and yeah, just doing more things, having more fun down in the future.
Thank you, Reggie. Here's my Kenpo salute to you, my friend.
Wow, very nice, very nice. Thank you.